All right, so in the last video, we looked at the document object model and what that is. We looked at the actual document object that we have access to within the window object and some of its properties and some of the methods we can use. So I want to take a look at some more properties that's on that object that you have accessible to you that you can access. You can also use to overwrite and add things through JavaScript. So a lot of these you're not really going to use because instead of selecting the elements with these properties, you're going to use methods like get element by ID and query selector. But I do want you to at least know that they exist. All right, so you'll notice that we actually have some life in the browser finally. So this is a UI for the shopping list application that we're going to build in a little bit. And it's not functioning. You'll see I cannot add anything. I can't delete anything. That's because there's no JavaScript at all. It's just HTML and CSS. And you'll have this in the sandbox. You'll also have it in, you should have it in the current video module that you're watching. All right, and just to take a quick look at the HTML, we're just bringing in Font Awesome, which is a library to use icons like this right here, I believe is, actually, no, that's not part of Font Awesome. I think just the delete buttons are here. But yeah, so we're just bringing that in, as bringing the CDN, and then we're linking in our style sheet. So this is just custom CSS, so very simple. We're not using like Tailwind or any CSS framework. And then we have our header, our container with our header, just has this little image and heading. And then the form here with the input to add an item, the button to add an item. Then we have a filter input as well, so we'll be able to filter these items down. Then we have the unordered list, which is the item list. And then we have the clear all button. So that's pretty much it. And then we're linking in a script.js, which is completely empty. That's why nothing works. Okay, and a little later on, we'll create this whole application and get it functioning, but I want to use it just as an example UI for the next few videos so that I can show you how to manipulate the DOM and access certain elements, change things, and so on. So again, I want to look at some of the properties on the document object. So I'm going to just initialize a variable here called output, so that I can console log different things. And let's open up our console over here. So the first property I'm going to show you is actually deprecated, but I still think you should know it, and that's document.all. So I want to set output to that so we can log it. Now you'll see it actually has a strike through in VS Code because it says it is deprecated. But if we look over here, what it gives us is an HTML all collection. So this is similar to an array, and you can see it has brackets, and it's basically an array or a collection of all of the different parts of this page, the DOM for this page. So HTML, tags, a script tag, head tag, everything in here, the form, the inputs, everything is going to be in this HTML all collection. And we can even access elements by index. So if I do 10, that gives us the body. If I do 11, that gives us the container. So you can access items or elements like this, but this is not like the way you want to do it. This is not very convenient. And this is the reason I wanted to teach you like what arrays are and how to use them and stuff. Because if you didn't know what an array is, you wouldn't understand an index or what this is, right? So it's important to learn the basics. Now you can also use like the length property just like you can on a regular array. So you can see there's 38 items in there. But it is deprecated. I wouldn't suggest using it, but I want you to know what it is just in case you run into it. Now we also have, if you want to get everything that's in the HTML element or tag, you can use document element, and that will just give us the HTML tag and then everything in it, head, body, and so on. Then we can also access just the head or just the body. So if we say document.head and we save that, that gives us the head. We can do the body. I showed you that in the last video as well. Now if you want to get the children in the head or the body, so if you want to get the children in a collection, you can, let's actually do that. So you can just do dot children. And now what we have here is a collection of everything that's in the head, the script tag, meta tag, link tag. We can do the same with the body. So if I do that, that gives us everything that's in directly in the body. That's why there's only a single div here, because if we look, there's this div with the class of container. Everything else, all the other HTML is inside of that. So it's only going to give you the parent, or I should say the direct child of the body. If I were to put an H1 in here and save that, that H1 will get added to this collection because it's at the top level, right, where container is. So that is dot children, which you can use on the header body. Now, some other properties we can get are the doc type. So let's say output equals document.doc type, if for some reason you need to get that. We also have the domain. Domain, I believe, is deprecated as well, but as you can see, we can get the domain, which for me is my local host. We can get the URL, the full URL as well. So that's going to be the domain plus any page that we're on. We can get the character set. So character set, which is UTF-8. So just some things that you can get for your application if you need them. The content type, so we can say document.content type, which is going to be text/HTML. Now, I showed you that we could get links as an HTML collection in the last video, and I'll go over that again in a minute, but we can also do that with forms. So I could say document.forms and save that. You see that gives me an HTML collection of the forms. If I want to access a specific form, I could use an index, because again, an HTML collection, it works like an array as far as indexes go. So you'll see I get my item form here. Now I can also get specific attributes on elements as well. So let's say I want to get the ID. I can say .id, and you'll see I get item form. Okay, I could get the method of the form. So we can say method. Save that, and it's going to be get, because we don't have a method described here, but a form is always going to, it's always going to be get as the method unless you set it specifically, like if I set it to post. So if I say method post and save, then it's going to be post. And we'll get into what that means later on. There's also no action, which is where it submits to. If there isn't an action, it's going to submit to that page, but I could get the action with .action, and it should just be the same page, so the page that I'm on. Now, if I wanted to change the ID of the form, I could do that by saying document.forms and grab the first form in the document and take the ID and set it to, let's say, new-ID. Right? So if I save that now and I come over, let's go to the Elements tab and take a look at the form. I'm going to close that up. And you'll see form has an ID of new ID. So I set that from my JavaScript. All right. I'm just going to comment that out though. Now I could do the same thing with links as I showed you in the last video. So I could say document.links, which, do I even have any links in here? Let's go back to the console here. Yeah, so it's just an empty collection because I don't have any links. If I put like, let's say https google.com, and I'm going to get rid of this after, but just to show you, if I have a link, then that's going to get added to the collection, and then I can access the first and only link with the index of 0. And if I want to access just the link, the href, I can use the href property. So I'll say .href, right? If I wanted to set an ID onto this link, I could say .id and set that to, let's say, Google-link. And if we go back into Elements and we look at the link, which is, let's see, where is it? I think it's in here. Yeah, so ID Google link. I could even change the href. So let's copy that down and set that to https facebook.com and save. And now if we look again at the link right here, you'll see the href is now Facebook. Okay, and then for classes, like for the CSS classes, you could change. Now you can't do this. You can't say .class, but you can do class name, and I'll set it to, I don't know, Google class, and save. And now you'll see we have a class of Google class. And then if we want to access all of the classes, we can get a collection of those with class list. So let's say .class list, and I'm not going to set this, I just want to log it. So we'll save that and go to our console, and you'll see that now we have, it's actually called a DOM token list. So any classes on that element will be in this list. All right, now we can do the same with, let's see, we did forms, links. We can also do images. So let's say output equals document.images, which will give us an HTML collection, if I can spell this right, document. So that gives us an HTML collection of images. Let's get the first image. So there's index of 0, and that's going to be this right here, this note PNG, which is the first and only image. If I wanted to get the source of that image, we could use the source property. All right, so I just want you guys to know these different properties that we can use to access these elements. Now, this is not the best way to do this. If you want to access a form, if you want to select it for something, you don't really want to do this, or this for links, or this for images, but I want you to know that this does exist, because you might run into it. And there might be some reason why you do have to use it. Now I'm just going to get rid of this Google link. It's going to throw an error because it's looking for links and I don't have any, so I'm just going to comment this block of code out. And then the last thing I want to mention is that what we're getting back when we do this, document forms, document images, is an HTML collection, which is array-like. We can access the specific forms, for instance, using an index, just like an array. But if we try to use a for each on it, it's not going to work. So let's actually try that out. If we say document, let's use forms. So we'll say document.forms.forEach. You guys should know this. We went over this in the last section. And this takes in a function. We'll say for each form. Then we just want to console.log the form. Right, now if I save that, it's going to say that for each, or forms.forEach, is not a function. Okay, because for each is not a function for what we have here, which is an HTML collection. Okay, later on when we use query selector, that actually gives us something called a node list, which is different than an HTML collection, and we can use for each on that. But for an HTML collection, if you do want to use for each, you would have to first convert it to an array, and you can do that with the array from method that we looked at a while back. So I could say const forms, right, create a variable called forms and set it to array, capital A, dot from, and then pass in our document.forms HTML collection, and then I should be able to take that forms array and then loop through it, and now you can see it's outputting this this form here. Okay, because we only have one form. If we had more, it would show them here because it's looping through and logging it. Okay, so I just want you to understand an HTML collection is array-like, but it's not actually an array. And this is how you can turn it into one. Now in the next video, we're going to start to look at methods that we can use to more easily select elements from the DOM.